Okay, well, hopefully this is going to work. It's been a while since I streamed anything. But that said, we're going to stream this and record this at the same time. Tabletop Simulator. Where is it? For King and Country. Cancel. Back. Workshop. You can find it in the workshop. Just do ICRPG Adventure. Hit the subscribe button, and this will show up on your table. Anytime I update this, fix it, or do any of that kind of stuff, mod it or whatever, it'll update in the workshop, and then when you load into the game, it will update for you. When you're building stuff inside of ICRPG, always put this table, this ICRPG pamphlet thing, on this part of the table instead of down here. For whatever reason, the elevation messes with dropping links on the map. You've got your dice. You can just hit the R button to roll the dice. There's your banana for measuring stuff. I don't really have anything that will show you what the lay down button means, but basically what it does is if you have something that says, let's see, flip. Nope. My banana disappeared. Stuff falls through the table, it will reappear. The last item you touch keeps appearing. There. See how it rotates it? It's really all it does. So if you're playing with minis on the map and see this thing here, like how am I going to get this thing to go vertical? Well, it's pretty hard to get it to go vertical. So if I touch it and hit the lay down, see that it moves a little bit. There you go. Easy cheesy vertical dealy. Pretty slick. I like this. If you're playing with minis and you got them on the map and somebody goes down, they're incapacitated, they're shaken or whatever, you can just click on them and bam, then you just knock them over, which is pretty cool. Up or down. Comes in really handy. Down here, we have my click rollers. The click rollers are pretty sweet. You want to roll a d4, bam. Here's what I like about it. The color in the text is black. So like I was saying before, if I change the color and I go to orange on my table, now I'm the orange player. When I hit my click roller and roll my dice, it shows it in orange. So when you go to the chat window, you can see who rolled what and what they rolled. Now this is a table for ICRPG. Oh, sounds like somebody's at my front door. And so these dice don't ace. In the player kit, you have character sheets. Turn sideways. This is the original character sheet that I did. Give you a nice view of that. Nice and easy to keep track of things. You can just, punch in the number that you want to put in. You got your loot bonuses 2, your total is 4, etc., etc. Drop your little character token here, and then you have 10 hearts. Let's say you have 2, and set this to 10. So what you do is you would say you take 5 damage. You just go 1, 5, and then when you lock this down to 0, you just knock off the next one, put this back to 10. It's a little janky, but at least it allows you to keep track of what you're doing. That's one character sheet. The other character sheet in the little chest is non-zero value, Michael Mock's character sheet, which I think is pretty sweet. Does things a little differently. I didn't put on the timers and stuff like that because what I think you can do is just go boom, boom, and then if you see I had timers, my table's hidden. You can't see it because I'm not DM. Change color. Go back to black. Now you'll be able to see it. So what I would do is I would just take this heart counter and you can control C. What are you doing? Right click. Oh, I think I know what happened. I didn't actually target the thing. Copy. Control C, Control V. So you can just give these to your players. Their character sheets over on their deal here. These are adjustable in size. So you drop that bad boy right there and you put the heart counter beside it. And then when you're from your player's perspective, you've got 2 hearts. and you take 5 damage. You take a little more damage, and then when this heart gets to 0, you just knock off one of your hearts, unselect it, and then 2 buttons, bam, you're back to 10. I like this counter. It's actually a little more intuitive. And actually, you could even just take this and shrink it down, put it here if you didn't want to use a character image or any of that kind of stuff. Type in your character's name, Willie Blunderbuss, and away you go. Set your modifiers, type in your stuff. It's actually a pretty decent sheet. And then we have the original one, which is this tiny little index card style one. And if we search what's in here, we have cool pirate cannon that will allow you to. Another nice part about these click rollers is if you go to where the infinity sign pops out, you can just click on that and drag this dice out. Now this dice will stay here. Pirate cannon is actually kind of cool. If you highlight this dice and press this button, it loads that into the cannon, and then you can fire it. But you have to go look at the dice. I rolled a 14. One of the neat things that you can do, I think you just press the button and it gets sucked right back in. So if you're gonna do this with your D20, you don't have to go find the bloody thing all the time. You can literally just like bring it back. So if I squeeze the trigger and we fire this thing again, I unlock this, and let's say I point it down the table like so, lock it back in place, and then it's just click, boom, and the dice will pretty much land in the same spot all the time. You can do this with any dice. The only crappy part is that this dice is not scripted to tell you what it rolled, because it's a created item. That's why. The other ones are set up. So this D20, when you roll it, will tell you who rolled it. Here's another nice part about it. It's black, I'm on orange, so it's not dependent to the person. And then you see the dice disappear. Makes for a nice cleanup when it's all said and done, as opposed to this dice that's just going to sit there. Excuse me. Okay, so let's clean up all this stuff. It doesn't matter if I delete or lose anything. Here's a target counter that you can use to keep track of stuff. This little flip thing here is called Add a Highlight. You right click on it, choose the color that you want, and I believe you just put this on here. And then if you look at this, it now has orange highlighter around it, so that this designates it as the orange player's deal. You wanted to change the add button on this to a nice soft blue. Blue, I don't know why it's soft, it just is. Boom, boom, boom. Now you know that's the blue players. The highlighter thing's actually pretty cool. You can also do this with the minis on the map, which makes it really easy to find your mini once your game is up and running. What else we got? Oh, let's get rid of the target counter. We can right click or just delete that. Ancient loot deck. Flip. You can deal loot to your players. Where's the deal? Let's give orange a couple of cards. This back over. If you're not orange, change color. Let's go say we'll be teal. If you're not orange, you don't get to see what the cards are. You just see the backs of them. If you are orange, you're of course going to see the backs of them, and it'll show you where these cards are right here. So that's actually pretty sweet. Now, if you're black, which is the Game Master's color, you're going to see them, but they won't show up on your screen. Nothing is hidden. F7. The hidden areas are these little colored boxes. So you can see that the colors defined across the table for different people. F1 takes you back to the hand pointer. If you want your cards back, right click, reset. The cards shoot across the deck. You have shabby loot, ancient loot, index cards, and then plot twist cards. Here's what's called a kicker. You want to set the table difficulty to 9. You have to click it on and off. Kicker. So table difficulty 14. That's going to set it for the table. Everybody can see it. And then these are just random counters as well. Same kind of a deal. They just have little added whatchamacallits to them. What's going on, Wyatt?
Do you still have any of those Cabela's gift cards?
Possibly, but I don't know. They'd be up in the drawer.
Can I, I'm going to go with Marcus to Cabela's in about half an hour. I just got to pick up some stuff for the weekend, like paracord.
Sure.
Do you mind if I use those?
Go ahead.
Awesome.
Steal my money. Target cards. If you want a deck of cards, that's what these are for. Just flip them over and essentially just deal yourself out a card. Now they just go up in numbers. So this is what you would do if you wanted to randomly set the target number for ICRPG just using a deck of cards. We'll shuffle these up, and then we'll flip this card over. You throw it out on the table. It's a 15 difficulty for this scene for randomly setting the difficulties. Instead of using this big dice, which is the one that I like to use, you could shuffle this deck by hitting R a few times and then just flip the card onto the table. The timer is 1. So this, if I show you the search, is just a deck of cards that are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Shuffle it up for some randomness and you're good to go. Right click, reset, right click, reset. And that's what's in there. These are infinite decks, so you can just click on these and delete them, and you can just drag out new ones. Like literally like infinite amount of times, because they are infamous. Yeah. All right. That's the sort of the nuts and bolts of the table. Once this table reloads, if I go to workshop, let's go load it again. This will take it sort of right back to where it begins with every time. Once you've set this up and you start playing your games, if you don't make it quite through where you want to, to the end of the game or whatever, you would just go to save and load, call it whatever you want. Mine, you can see here, is called Sunday One Shot or Sunday's Games. This is something I was working on here, and you just pick up from there. Okay, here we go. Let's move this back up into this table where you can see it. This is the maps for, and probably the main part of the video here. So we start off with the main frame. You can see that this little tablet matches what's on the table, which is why I like to hide it down in the bottom here. That puts me at index card. Now, normally I have other things put on this main screen. Up here in my own personal game, I have created an adventure character creator. I can click on that. It'll bring up all the PDFs or pages from the book for creating characters, but that's just stuff that I can't give away because it's IP protected stuff. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, this map might be IP, but you see the build button popped up. I don't think Hankering's going to mind too much. This is the little the original map that he did for Alfheim. Smash the build button. If there's a problem, I'll remove this thing. But what I've done is I've put a bunch of flags on this map, and I've put this boat. Right click. I can leave that. What the flags do is they just tell you a little bit about the place when you mouse over them. So in the northwest corner of the Endless Desert, the River Khyber has nurtured an ancient city now mostly in ruin. This place was once the center of the Serpent Kingdom. A few dare walk its soundless paved causeways and blasphemous inhuman pyramids. Xenos, Land of Obelisks, tells you a little bit about them, but really that's all it does, is just tell you what's there. Change them to say whatever you like, update this map if you have access to the new stuff. You can do all that kind of stuff by looking through like how to work the One World mods. All right, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee here. So delicious. That said, this map is the controlling feature. This is a link that takes you back to the main frame because right now we are actually on the Alfheim map. This little button here takes you to the Slaver's Boat. So the premise for my adventure, called For King and Country, was that the players, I think if I go back, we go to the Alfheim map and hit build. Your players come from basically anywhere they want on the mainland. Let them decide. You don't want to take away their player agency and tell them who they are. Another cool thing that I thought about while I was building this adventure is that your players are going to be criminals, quote unquote, of some sort. Now that's up to you to decide, or I'm sorry, up to your players to decide what they want their criminal background to be. Maybe it was petty theft, maybe it was murder, but let them keep that a secret. As far as, you know, them playing their own characters, they can bring it up in game, they can tell or share the other, you know, that part of their story with the other players. But if everybody knows that everybody is on the boat because they're going to pay for whatever crimes it is they've committed, it adds that element of, can I really trust this person, which I thought was kind of interesting. So they can literally come from anywhere they want, but I just basically had them come from, I think on the map that I have, I might have changed someplace here. I think that's why it's called someplace. Because jokingly, I was like, you come from someplace in Alfheim, and then there's someplace. So they set sail out of the bay of someplace, and they are making their way over to the Norberg prison work camp, which is just something that I threw on this little island. Here lies a place of utter despair and turmoil. This small island is home to a perilous prison work camp that none escape from. There's Norberg, City of Reavers, Kinder Peaks, etc., etc. So then you start off with the boat. This is after you've introduced them to the game, explained to them, you know, what the premise of the story is. They start by setting sail on this boat. Now, I've deeply modified this boat since I played it. Just last night, actually. Not that in times of when you're watching this means anything. I added a bunch of stuff to this because I had some other IP stuff from another artist that I took out. So all that you're going to find in this is things that are available in Tabletop Simulator that were already created or by someone else or are Hankerin's free art. But I put these badass whatchamacallits on here. You have cannons you can actually fire. Now the sales are from Blue Sword Games. They're just the sales that he gave away in one of his token packs that I stuck on some little wood stumps. And then this artwork, I'm not sure where I got it from, but it's all just cut out. So you can start your players off here on this map. They're underneath the whatchamacallit that I'll reveal in a second. But this is just really for looks. Maybe you throw this map up and you explain to them, you know, the turmoil they're in, the despair that they're about to face, the years of hard labor that they're going to endure. And here we have Brittany as Admiral Jackson. Aboard the ship, this is just a chest that contains nothing. If you search it, oh, there is stuff in it. Scimitar, longsword, mace, scroll. And then crossbows that you can, just do whatever with. I think most of the stuff is locked, but if it's not, what do you do? So depending on how you want to roll it, you can have an upper decker battle, so to speak. We'll take that off, and then it's just a matter of grabbing these pieces and deleting them. Gonna make sure you don't grab the tentacle. And we will delete them, and then you can see in the bottom of the boat if this is where you want your players to start. What I'm doing is I'm hitting L, grabbing it, and then hitting delete, just to delete this stuff off the table. It doesn't with a bit more skill, not skill. If you kind of know what you're doing, you can do this thing where you could joint, is what it's called. It's right over here. And what joint does is it gives you this chains, and you can connect things like this grasping tentacle to this grasping tentacle. And then when you pick one up, you pick them both up. Now I could have jointed all of the pirates, the top level, and all of that stuff together, but the problem is when you save things, TTS right now doesn't have a way that to save those joints, so it doesn't recognize that they're saved. And when you build something that's not locked into position, it basically will just fall over if it's jointed to wherever it needs to be. Let's get these cannons. If you want, you can throw the cannons at the bottom, but I don't advise it. And Slaver Guards. So this is where I would start my original adventure. I would take my players once they've chosen their characters and have their tokens, and I would drop them in the bottom of the ship along with the cargo, and these Slaver Guards are basically down here to make sure that they don't get away. The tentacles are going to reach through little cracks in the ship, through the portholes, whatever you want to call them, and they're going to slap your players around or try and drag them out with opposed strength rolls into the water and drown them, where Sea Monster face head guy over here is going to chew them up. All said and done, here's a neat feature of TTS after the battle is over and your players are wandering around and they're searching things. You just go to your card deck and you're like, okay, make me a wisdom check, because they're going to be searching for loot. If they succeed, you can just say, all right, player, orange player succeeded, and you deal him a card, and this is what he finds. Let's see, what did he find for loot? Got himself a lightning steed. Oh, that's actually kind of dangerous, man, because he could lightning steed right off this boat. Maybe chain them to the deck. Actually, that is one thing that I did too. I had them chained to the deck with slaves, other slaves. And in my version of the story, I had some of Printable Heroes miniatures in here as well that aren't available in this because, again, IP. But I had his snakehead men attack the ship instead of these tentacles. They came on board, they killed everybody, and then as they were about to leave, the snake man and the snake woman had this conversation in a language that the players didn't understand, and the snake man threw his sword down because the ship was going to be sunk. And so he threw his sword down at the player's feet. Now this, with the other slavers in here, my premise or my idea was that the players are going to have to, in order to get out of the shackles, because they would be shackled to the deck, they're going to have to either cut their hands off or cut the hands of the person next to them off, which sort of throws them in this like, oh crap, what do I do kind of a thing, as the lady beside them, screams at them, please don't cut off my limbs. But, what are you going to do, right? So it's kind of an added little bit of a dilemma that I sort of threw in there. So this is the map that is available as it stands right now with a bunch of extra edited stuff. And you could just edit it to do whatever you like. They're on this boat. This boat gets attacked. This boat's going to crash and burn, is essentially what happens in this scene. Choose whatever it is you want to choose for your difficulty. Maybe you want to start off this map as a 13. There you go. And that's all there is to it, which is pretty... hopefully this doesn't get too long. That's this map. So if you hit the clear button, we hit the build button, recalling zone objects, it is going to put back everything just like it was. So you don't have to worry about destroying stuff, moving things, getting stuff out of the way, or screwing around with the map. As long as you don't hit the pack button, which would be hard to do because the pack button, you have to push this button and flip it out. So that's the Slaver's Boat map that is available for you to play on. Use it for anything. You can adjust it, move stuff, get rid of the tentacles if you want. You notice the tentacles are no longer jointed together because joint doesn't work inside the deal. Maybe it does, maybe they fix it, I don't know. But this would be a great battle map for anything that you wanted to do. One thing you can do with this is you can export. I can press this export button, everything gets thrown into this bag, and this bag you can drop onto your own. You would just go clear, let's go lock, and then once this is like this, you just take this bag. I don't want to show you because it won't make a difference. And I can just drop this on here, and you see how everything gets imported, and it popped out a little link, and that's how you get stuff into your own One World world. So that said, I'm just going to go games because I don't want to screw up with any of this stuff. Let's go back here. Load the workshop. Everything will now be reset to the way that it comes, or it's uploaded to the workshop. Drag this back onto the table. Load. Lock. Mainframe. Alfheim. Slaver's Boat. Now that we're back to the Slaver's Boat, the idea is that once the boat crashes, they will end up, this will take you back to the Alfheim map, and then this one will take you to the Norberg mission. Now, the boat's crashed, your players can be out in the water for a number of days before they end up on this map being awoken by none other than Bjornr, who is this little priest that is hiding out here. In my story, this priest was the head priest for the city of Norberg. He discovered that the king was actually a lich late one night, and in fearing for his life, he fled to this old chapel, monastery, seminary, kind of a map that he was at when he was a young kid, and that's why he's here. He's basically hiding out, hoping that the Lich Deceiver doesn't kill him. So your players will awake. On this map, you can see that there's maybe a little panel that they were floating on. There's some broken boxes and crates that they can use to search the area. And Bjorn is going to be the one that's going to cast some healing spells and wake them up, and then tell them his story, convince them to go and fight the Lich Deceiver. They can hang out in these chapels, search the buildings, get their loots, and do all of that stuff while they rest and heal up. While here, the battle on this scene is hidden in this little box. Inside this box, if I go right click and I go to... Oh, is it this box? Uh-oh. No, never mind. Wrong box. It is hidden in this box. So if you go right click... Come on. I'm not selecting the right piece, which is the problem. You can see that this big piece back here is selected. So, in this box, if you just click on it and drag, you have the Maiden's Mercenary Corps, all hidden in here. There's 5 different people. If you just mouse over this, I've just put a little bit on here. This is the +1 heart, +2 shield bash stun. Player loses next turn on a failed con save. That's her little ability. This person over here has +1 hearts, +3 to strength rolls, +2 to all rolls to hook, and can pull a hooked companion or a hooked player far inside or too near. So basically, this guy is going to use his little hook. He's going to wind up. He's going to target somebody far away. Maybe he targets Bjorn, and Bjorn gets sucked in close, where the lot of them just gang up on Bjorn and beat the living bejesus out of him. There's probably also other horses in here if you wanted to take the time to set it up. Maybe you just drop them, like this. And they're snooping around the beach looking for wreckage. Maybe they don't know anybody's in this monastery, that kind of stuff. So maybe the battle takes place up here, which is what happened in my game. The mage went actually behind this building and shot this tower off. Just when one of them was about to walk in this building, they shot this little sign off, crushed the guy, which was pretty sweet. So yeah, lots of options. Here's your character, your little minis all hidden in this map and stuff like that. This is how this works. Let's drop this guy on here. So let's say this was your player character. Your player character's token now has an orange highlight, and if we're throwing it whatever, you can now tell that the orange player's guy is right there, even without it being selected. Because I'm like, let's say I select this horse. He now has an orange highlight around him, which I think is really cool. Your players know exactly where they're at. They don't have to scroll in and like, oh, okay, this is my artwork character here. One of the other things that I've done is I've scripted these minis. So Maiden Mercenary has 1 heart, I would assume, which is why she only has 1. So does this person have 2? The script base is 1 heart. 1 heart, 1 heart. Yeah, they all have 1 heart. So it doesn't matter what artwork that you put on these things. They're always going to have 1. But this is an easy way to keep track. She took 4 damage. She took 6 damage. Maybe she gets shot for 5. It's 1 button, bam. It allows you to keep track of the damage rate on the minis because I scripted them with that little feature, which I got from somewhere else. And that's the second map. That's the premise of the second map. Once they fight off the Maiden Mercenary Corps that is out here looking for the slaves, maybe Bjorn helps them by casting a few spells if you don't have a healer or any of that kind of stuff. But when it's all said and done, Bjorn's going to ask the party to go to Norberg and defeat the Lich King, which is how the story all starts, the premise of the next one. So the next little button down here, as we railroad our players, is Norberg City Gates. I pulled these off, so let's delete these. Now this is just a nice map that I found of what I would think Norberg would look like with the big lodge hall up in the top. I didn't notice that there was this little city back here because Norberg is sort of up on the end on a cliff and stuff like that, and then behind it is the Doom Vault, I believe. But still a very cool sort of Norse-looking building kind of a thing. The simplicity of it is when you hit the build button, the gist is the players just have to get through the city gates. So this is artwork right out of the book. Here's your city guards. Your players make a perception roll or somehow figure out how they're maybe going to fly over the gate, sneak in, something like that. But that's what this map is for. City guard, when you hold your mouse over them, has an action called call for backup. So during their turn, they can yell out for help, and you roll like a 1d4, however many you want to bring, and more guards just keep coming as the guards get called. The premise of this map is literally just to get your players into the city. Maybe you want to throw a 14 difficulty on that, or maybe you want to put a 16 difficulty on that. It's nice that it's always there, which is actually kind of sweet. So, very cool. The next map that we go to is inside. Now, this one's going to take a bit to load up, but this is called the Merchant District. So, I imagine that Norberg conducts a lot of business. And if I was to build a city, I would want the Merchant District to be the first thing that is inside the city gates. The reason I would do it that way is because if everybody's coming in, it keeps them out of the city proper. So where your citizens live and your houses and all of that kind of stuff, especially back in maybe the old days, you got people coming in and, you don't want them causing trouble or any of that kind of stuff. So you just put your little merchant area where they're welcome to come in and conduct business and sell their fish, etc., etc. You don't have to use this map. You can skip it, do whatever you like, but it's got a bunch of barrels, kegs, logs. There's a tavern. They can go maybe get some information in. You can see that we got some town guards. This map was made by somebody else. I'm not sure. Over here, we got a nice little drunk town guard doing his deal. And we have a piece of wood here that should not be there, that somehow got stuck on that map. I threw this map in so that I could have little kids, that are running around or whatever, steal items from the players. If they roll notice, maybe they catch the kid. If not, maybe you steal some items from them as a way to, like a treat or maybe a threat or something like that. And that's about it. But once they get here, maybe give them some rumors. Maybe they need some help. They can hire a guy or something like that. That was the point of the merchant map. So the next map on the agenda is City Streets. And this is a map that was drawn by the lovely and talented Zovia that I chopped and fit into place. And I'm sure she won't mind that I used it because can't really do much with it when it comes out of the game, and it's really just I just wanted the city streets because I did put houses on top of it. So hopefully she doesn't mind. If she does, I'll rip it out of here. I forgot to ask her about that. But this is a 3D map. Now here's one of the cool parts about this 3D map. The players are trying to make their way through the city streets up into the Great Longhouse or something along those lines, and so there's city guards all over the place. If they are the thieving type, you can see as I scroll up that I put on these little platforms where they can run across the roof. And maybe that's how they're going to make a couple of stealth checks to get wherever it is they're going to go. If the city guard catches them, maybe they get questioned and they got to make a persuasion roll, which would be like a charisma roll to bypass the city guards because obviously they're not going to have papers. And, what are they doing in these parts? Maybe they get arrested, maybe they get into a fight, something along those lines. I do have these very, let's call them obnoxious gates or sewer grates that I put into the map. And I'm hoping that the players would notice them because this is one way for them to get down into the sewers. And if not, basically your players would start right here somewhere. And then they're just going to have to make their way either stealthily through the street or, normally through the street. Or maybe they pop up on here and shoot around over this way. But the premise would be avoid the guards and work your way to the longhouse, because that's essentially where they're kind of going. If they ask about the sewers, they could pop the grates off and head down into the sewers. This City Streets map has access to the Norberg Longhouse, you can see, or it has access to the city sewers. Norberg Longhouse. This is very simple. There's nothing to it, just like the city gates. It's very hard to find a map that is decent enough that you can call it a 3D representation of an Old Norse long haul. So what I did was I found a map that kind of has a bit of depth to it, so you get the perception that there is this map or this depth to where people are at. And here we go. You scroll in and you have King Nutvig, and you can see the throne. King Nutvig, he's got some abilities, 3 hearts plus 3 charisma. He's got command, so he can call out, and he's got a cool ass headbutt. He can smash you right in the head. Brutus Beefcackberg, he's got some skills and abilities. He can sweep, ground stomp, so he can pound the ground with his foot as he calls out. He's got a 2-handed greatsword that he whips around and gets some weapon damage. And then we have Motak Zin. He's the spellcaster. So you've got your 2 guards, and you've got the king, who is actually like a Lich Deceiver. And here's the royal guards. Once again, you can see that you want to move them back along this little back wall here, and give the gist that they are hanging out up against the back walls, like these guys are. So when the fight ensues, your players would start down around here somewhere. Maybe they accuse King Nutvig of being a Lich Deceiver, and he gets his minions, Brutus and Motak, to attack. Somehow they drop his guys so that the Lich appears, and everybody helps chase the king down. Your choice. Beauty of TTS. Not everything needs to be 3D. Not everything needs to be fabulous looking. If you get yourself into a pickle where you can't find a map, this was something I just found on Google. I saved the images. I converted it into 1600 by 945, dropped it into one world, and that's all I'm going to use. This is the entire end battle. So it doesn't have to be all this fancy 3D stuff all the time. It can be something as simple as this, but you really get a cool ass 3-dimensional representation from a flat map and a bunch of minis as to where things are located on the map. Okay. We'll clear this map out. Oh, from this map, you can see that there's a link in the center. And then this is going to take him to the deep sewers, which I think is something you guys are going to find fantastic. 4 maps. Nutvig gets away. The chase through the sewers entails. You can start in high flow. Let's build high flow. Here's where I got a little inventive and a little creative in something that I think is pretty slick. You can tell by looking at high flow how it has these little watery deals on it and stuff. I've showed this in another video. So this map here is obviously this corner of this map. I've got my little murder hobo token on here for no other reason than to tell you as the dungeon master that the attached circle is the bag. In this bag I've got a bunch of hearts and I got a bunch of sewer goblins. I had the PDF imported into the game with the sewer goblin statistics, but that is again intellectual property, so I can't leave it in here in this one. If you have the ICRPG core book, you can upload just drop it into a PDF editor, extract every page into an image, and then upload the image to, say, a program or a website called Imgur. I've created my entire core book online, so I can easily do things like that, make PDFs and stuff. But then you can just take the little sewer goblin that you want and you put them wherever you want. Now, I do have a lot of sewer goblins in this deal, but you don't need to pull them all out. You learn a lot as you play the game. You can literally just mouse over the sewer goblin, hit Control-C, zoom out, look down at the map, and start to hitting Control-V. We're going to put one there, one there, one there. Oh, what's this? A sewer goblin ambush. Bam, just like that, I've immediately populated the map with sewer goblins. Place your party wherever they want to go, and they got to make their way basically from wherever you start them, which maybe is over here somewhere, through the sewers, and they're going to make their way out this exit. We'll clear this map out. That leaves us with a bunch of these guys on, so we can just go select all these, delete. This is how you clean a map up. And let's go to the next one. The chase is on. Into low flow. Let's build this. Well, it takes a second to build. These maps actually are pretty quick. I'm sorry about, you can hear me drinking. So here's my murder hobo token. And then that means that this tower is the searchable deal. And then we have skeletons. So there's going to be a little skeleton chase through here. The laydown token is best sort of shown here. So if I choose this skeleton, bam, he's down. That means he's out of commission. And then he's back up again. That's kind of how that works, which is what I really like about it. And you can drag this, wherever you're sort of viewing the map from. Maybe you're working over here. Bam, skeleton goes down. Because dropping them in the game, like even if you flip them, that just puts them upside down. So you kind of gotta have to throw them to get them to sort of lay over, which I think is janky. Lay down works fantastic. Bam, instantly over. Same thing with the skeletons. Control C. Here's the gimmick too. In one of these maps, I have the Lich Deceiver that I made. You can maybe have the Lich Deceiver over on the far end of the map, something along those lines, wherever you want your players to go through. Maybe he's casted spells as they sort of pop through here, but they never actually really can get to him until the final map, kind of a thing, because the skeletons sort of inhibit the party's advancement. And that would be the low flow map. And then we come around to the treatment center. Get rid of this. We build the treatment center. And there we go. Treatment center is finished building. So you can see it's actually pretty quick. Search through here. Slime cubes up next on the agenda. We're going to attack them with slime cubes. You just click on it, hit plus, set it to the size that you want, and away you go. Giant slime cubes are like trolling through the ground here. You say I want one over here, I want one over here, and I want one there. Giant ass slime cubes chasing or trying to slow your players down as they progress through the dungeon. And then finally we get to the last but not least map in this deal here. We'll build this one, and then this is where the final showdown with the Lich Deceiver happens. Maybe your players are worn down by now. There's the Lich Deceiver. If you wanted the Lich Deceiver to be in one of your other maps, fire the game up before your players show up. Bring this guy over here. You can actually hit Control C and Control V and drop him there, and then this guy won't matter. Then, basically on your other maps, you just take this Lich Deceiver and drop him on there, and then go, so let's say we go back to the first area, high flow. Anything that springs up on the map is not part of it. You can delete, build. So we've gone and gotten our Lich Deceiver. And let's say the Lich Deceiver is, maybe he's hiding right here, and your players start at the other end. And he's all like, ha ha ha, I will suck the blood out of your body, leave your bones desiccated husks. How dare you intrude and try and take over my glorious city. And then he just runs off, and then the players chase him. Kind of cool. So you set him off to the side, and then he's available for every map, and it gives your players the idea as to which way you want them to go through the dungeon. When we're all set done, go to high flow, hit the build button. Oops. Half reclaim. Build. Final map. The final countdown. There's the Lich Deceiver, and let's see, what have I put in here? Shamblers. So the Lich Deceiver has killed off some of the underground minions, some of the peasants, and he's turned them into his little tribe of shambling mummies. And he is in here because somewhere in this room is where his phylactery is hidden that is going to be his demise. Maybe he hints at it, or maybe he tries to grab it and run. Your choice. We're leaving the story that you're going to tell up to you and your players, and that's going to be it. This is where it ends, the final countdown. So there's enough, man. It took me 6 hours, two games, 3 hours apiece to get through this map, through this little adventure, and it's all yours for the taking. If you find something that you want to use in your own game, let's say that you like, I've actually already explained that. City streets. Let's say you like the city streets. You want to keep this and you want to make your own one world map. You just pop that out, hit export, everything gets dropped into a bag, right click, save object, it'll save it into your saved objects pile, and then when you start building your own, you drop it on to the to a clear map. Sometimes you get that, but it doesn't really mean much. And you're good to go. See if I can fix the situation. There, clear. City streets. Bam. Importing art. Importing everything. Everything gets packed up into that, and it created a link. So you could go right to your mainframe, and you could go city streets and drop it there. Double click on that, hit the build button, and you're off to the races. So that's it. That was my Lich Deceiver for King and Country. There's all the maps that you need to play it. You've got the character sheets that are form fillable. You got cards with adventure stuff on it. Maybe keep it low level. Yeah, build your own stuff. Add your own things. There is a table on the workshop called ICRPG Custom Table that I will load right now that you can also have access to. Once again, right click, save object, puts anything that you want into your own saved deal. This table is a complete multi-purpose, anything that you want to have. Oh, I haven't done Ghost Mountain. You can see the links. Warp Shell, Flight of the Red Sword, and Alfheim. So here's Alfheim. We double click Alfheim, we hit the build button. Alfheim pops up with this little map, and then here is all of the artwork for different players. I believe these are the heroes. Yep, there's Alfheim heroes, and here's the bad guys. So these are all available. You could just right click and save this bag, and then all of these monsters will be used. You just drop the bag in your table and then right click and search through it like so. Right click, search, and then there you go. All of them have hit point counters on them. You can see I changed these ones from 10 to 1. So if you take some damage, I put it at 1 so that it represents 1 heart, which better represents Hankeron's philosophy. And that's Alfheim. So if we go back to the core. What is this one? Flight of the Red Sword. Let's go to Warp Shell. We hit build. This table is also available. Man, you could just play on this table if you could find the other stuff. It is also kind of set up to do... Oh, it doesn't have the actual battle maps. 36 Warp Shell monsters. This is where all the Warp Shell stuff is from the core book. Just the artwork. There's all the ships. And then over here we've got the heroes. So this is where you would come, make your players create their characters. Well, you couldn't. They could just choose. This is what I like to do. I would like to say I'm like, this guy appeals to me. I am a recycled water tank with with a machine gun and a shield, and I'm literally a water tank. I'm filled with water and I'm a tank. You can name your deals whatever you want just by clicking on this. Water tank. I'm now the tank. Give myself some hit points. Maybe I got an extra 2 hearts instead of 1. And create your character sheet, and then this is your guy. He's it. I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have that over there. So that's what that one's for. What does this one do? This one take you back? Yeah, this one takes you back. What you can do on this one is play Flight of the Red Sword, which I'm not really going to go through because I've done it in a different video already. But this is Parent View in a nutshell. Fantastic. I can explain it in my other ones. Click on this bad boy, hit the build button, have your characters with their minis dropped right onto the map, and away you go. Little docking bay thing, all 3Dized, have sound, a little bit of color and stuff like that. You can see the other video. And that's it. Video done. Peace out, suckers.